Hey Athey kids and parents. This weekend in Athey Kids, we'll be reading from Genesis 37, how God preserved Joseph. This story appears to be a story about everything going wrong. Jacob showed favoritism. Joseph talked foolishly. The brothers were filled with jealousy and hatred. And Reuben failed to lead as the firstborn should. But God was at work, using every event to prepare for the salvation of his chosen people. Jacob lived in the land of his father's sojournings, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a robe of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf." His brothers said to him, "You are indeed to reign over us? Or are you indeed to rule over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, "Behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing down to me." But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I, your mother, and your brothers indeed come and bow ourselves to the ground before you?" And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the saying in mind. Now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "Go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring me word." So he sent him from the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a man found him wandering in the fields. And the man asked him, "What are you seeking?" "I'm seeking my brothers," he said. "Tell me, please, where are they pasturing the flock?" And the man said, "They have gone away, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They conspired against him to kill him. But when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, "Let us not take his life." And Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness. But do not lay a hand on him, that he may rescue him out of their hand to restore him to his father." So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore, and they took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in the pit, he tore his clothes and returned to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone, and I, where shall I go?" Then they took Joseph's robe and slaughtered a goat and dipped the robe in the blood. And they sent the robe of many colors and brought it to their father and said, "This we have found. Please identify whether it is your son's robe or not." And he identified it and said, "It is my son's robe. A fierce animal has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his garments and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his son many days. We know that the story is not over yet. The teaching points will vary slightly from classroom to classroom, such as in the younger pre-K and launch point classes, we'll learn how Jacob showed favoritism, but our Father in heaven does not. Joseph spoke of ruling over his brothers. Jesus taught us to serve one another. Joseph was hated, but God directs people's actions according to his plan. In the older primetime and next level classes, the points will be: Jacob showed favoritism, but our Father in heaven does not. Joseph was hated, but God directs people's actions according to His plan. Joseph's family fell apart, but God works all things together for our good. This weekend, we want to drive home the idea of how Joseph is a picture of Jesus. Joseph suffered greatly, but God used his suffering to save his family from both starving during 7 years of famine and from the sins that were ruining their family. In the same way, when Christ came, He also experienced great suffering in order to bring about God's good and perfect plan. As Joseph suffered and became ruler to save his family, so Jesus suffered and became king to save all who come to Him. That's the message that we're hoping to share this weekend. We hope to see you soon.